Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm Rebecca with Learning Together by Grace, and in today's video, we are going to be doing this little cute drawstring bag sewing project. Are y'all ready? I am. Let's go. All right, you guys, so today I am going into my stash and I am using this hot pink fabric that I used for another sewing project. So this is just leftover fabric, so we're going to use this today. Okay, you guys, so today I am starting with this pink scrap piece of fabric. I have a scrap piece of paper, and so this is 8x10 printer paper, and it's just a scrap piece. And then a 27-inch shoestring. I have my measuring tape, scissors, I have a chalk marker, and some weights. So the way that we are going to do this, so first and foremost, remember, always press out your fabric. This fabric was pressed out a while ago, and so I just wanted to get the wrinkles out of it really quick, but make sure you use steam, you hold, and you press your fabric out, okay? All right, so I kind of pre-folded it because I knew what measurements that I wanted, but here is my selvage. So my selvage is on this end, and essentially I'm folding it, and I want to fold it to where there's some extra space here at the top, okay? So we are only going to have to cut, because I'm using this edge, and I'm going to have to only cut along two sides. So now I'm going to place my piece of paper on this fold right here and against this edge. Just want to make sure I have it all lined up. Okay, trying to see. And you can clean your edges, in which I will most definitely be doing. I'm gonna actually do it right now. Clean up that frayed part of your edges. If you have a rotary cutter, it'll make a nice little perfect cut. And I'm just gonna cut off these frayed ends as straight as I possibly can. All right. Okay, y'all, I was like, you know what? Let me show them a rotary cutter. This is a rotary cutter. And when you're using a rotary cutter, you need some mats. I found these little bitty mats. I have two of them. I actually have bigger ones, but I found these two small ones at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. And so they're like crafting mats, but you can definitely use them for your sewing projects. I'm going to use them today since my project isn't so huge, and I'm going to show you how a rotary cutter is used. You do need a pretty straight edged ruler. This is a curved square that I have. This is something that you use with dressmaking. It helps when you're making sleeves or any type of curved pattern, or that has a pattern that has a curve in it. So anyway, continuing on with this. So this is an 8x10 piece of paper. I have my weights here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make my drawstring bag to be the width. So the 8 inches, but I am going to add extra inches up here. And so let me show you my measuring tape. So this is an extra 4 inches that I am going to be using up top, so that we can have a longer bag. So I'm essentially going to be cutting right here at the edge, and I'll definitely cut off this frayed part. So just right along that frayed edge, and then right along this edge. And so I'm going to use my rotary cutter today for you guys. Okay, so I said my printer paper was 8x10. It's actually 8x11. So 8x11, if you add the extra 4 inches up here, it'll be 8x15 that we're cutting. But at least this is giving us a little bit of leeway, so we're not having to do a lot of measuring. So I just want to show you again, it is right at 4 inches. And so I'm actually going to start up here with cutting. And like I said, you do need a straight edge when you are using a rotary cutter, because otherwise you're going to find yourself cutting kind of kind of crazy. All right, I'm just making sure that my cutting board is up here. I'm starting up here because I just want to go on and get those frayed ends out of the way. And so you just want to cut right along your line on your ruler, okay? And I'm gonna tell you guys the truth, I need a new blade here on my rotary cutter. So in some places it didn't cut all the way through. So either you can go in and just cut it like that, or either just take your scissors and cut those parts that didn't get cut. And so it was just these two pieces right here. But I'm moving that out of the way. And now I'm going to make sure that my mat is underneath here, and it is. And I'm going to use the rotary cutter again. And so I can actually move these weights out of the way and put them like along this side right here to keep that in place. And place my ruler right along this edge and get to cutting. And so you want to make sure you have pressure, you hold down, and you keep that blade right along the edge. Make sure that you are not cutting into the paper, because it will make your rotary cutter very dull if you do that. Let me go get another blade. Okay, you guys, I went on and got another rotary cutter because that one was not working for me. Okay, and there's a little spot right there that didn't get cut. It's just little threads that didn't get cut. But there you have it on that side. All right, you guys, so here we go. Hopefully me using that rotary cutter didn't confuse anyone. And know that you are free to use your scissors, because that works just fine too. Now, what I'm gonna do, I just opened my fabric up. So this is the wrong side of my fabric. This is the right side of my fabric. And what I'm going to do now is just fold my, actually I'm gonna spray because I need steam, but I'm going to fold my fabric 1/4 of an inch up. And I'm doing this on one side, and I'm going to press that down, and I'm going to do that all the way down on this one side. All right, I just got finished sewing this pressing this down 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just folding it over itself. Now you're probably wondering, why are we doing this? Why are we folding this over 1/4 of an inch 2 times and pressing? Well, we want to cover those raw edges, and this is a way to cover those raw edges, meaning, you know, the part that can fray. We want to cover that up because it will make our sewing project more secure, and it will make it look neater as well. And this is actually going to be on the inside, so you're not going to readily see this part unless you're, you know, looking for it on the inside. And yeah, so now that I've done my second fold over 1/4 of an inch, I am going to head to my sewing machine. All right, I just want to let y'all know I took a piece of fabric and I sewed it. This is a part of the fabric that I'm using. I just wanted to make sure that my sewing machine didn't have any problems with it. I don't want any problems. I want to make it easier. So always sew a scrap piece of fabric, you guys, before you get started. I know we want to get to sewing, but it is so important. It'll help your project along better. It'll save you time and headache because you'll know how that fabric is going to work with your sewing machine. All right, so now I have everything on a straight stitch. My stitch length is at 2 and my width is at 2 as well. And so I'm going to feel for this line right here where that fold is, and I'm going to make sure that it is lined up kind of like right here at the edge of my presser foot on the inside. So I'm gonna do 2 stitches forward and then 2 stitches back, and then I'm just going to keep sewing forward until I get all the way to the end, and just making sure that I'm gently guiding my fabric. I am not forcing it through. As you can see, I'm lifting my hand off and, you know, allowing it to do its thing. That's how gentle it is. And it's literally just to keep the fabric in line and underneath the presser foot evenly, okay? All right, so I am going to be back after I am done sewing this. Okay, you guys, I want to show you this. I did not catch my fabric right here. You guys, unless you're like super professional, so it can be very hard to always get that fabric. So what I'm going to do, I am going to go back and sew over that. I'm just going to put a pin here and a pin on this other side, and I'm going to sew between the pins to make sure that I get that fabric caught in there. And yes, there may be an extra line, but I will still have that fabric caught. So I'll just do it, I'll start here on the seam, and then I will shift over just a little bit, okay? So I'm gonna do my 2 stitches forward, back stitch, and then I'm gonna do a better job of feeling where that fold is so that I can catch it. And then right here at the end, I'm going to bring that seam back into that other seam and then back stitch and finish there, okay? Alrighty, is it the prettiest? No, but we caught it nonetheless. You know, we have to, you can rip the entire seam apart. You can definitely do that. And that would be the better option because it's gonna make that look a lot neater. I won't lie to you guys. But sometimes we're strapped for time and we have to just make it work, okay? So now what I'm going to do, or what you can do, you can actually rip this seam out as well, just that little seam out, because you've sewn into the stitching, and so it's secure. All of the thread is secure in this area, but I'm just gonna leave it for now for tutorial sake. Alrighty, you guys, we're back over here at the ironing board. Remember, you sew a seam, you press a seam. So I'm going in and I'm just going to press that seam down using your steam to do so. And next, I'm just gonna do a quick iron. I don't know, I iron as I go too. It's not necessary. All right, so with right sides together, I am going to, we're gonna actually sew along this stitch line that we have here. Alrighty, so I'm actually going to make a 3-inch opening. And so I'm gonna place 2 pins right here, okay? And this way I know that I'm only sewing here, okay? And you are going to also, so I'm gonna sew all the way down this side, and then I'm gonna sew from here all the way down. And then, so I'm gonna pin this all together and we will go back to the sewing machine. All right, y'all, we're back at the sewing machine. So I'm going to put my fabric under here, remembering that we're starting down here. We need to leave an opening. So that's the reason why I'm starting down here. So when you're making, if you think about drawstrings, they always have this opening. Alrighty, so the way that we're going to do this, we are going to sew into this line. I guess this could be considered a ditch, if you will. So we're going to sew right into that part. All right, so we're gonna do our 2 stitches and then stitch back. Now, I don't want you to be alarmed if you can't stay right on that ditch part. Don't stress yourself out about it. Do the best that you can, okay? I'm always here to encourage people to just do the best that you can. It's not gonna be perfect, you know, your first few times. You practice makes better, you know? And one thing that I have come to realize with sewing, whenever I go to the store and I purchase garments, even older garments that are supposedly higher quality than the garments that are here today, they all have some kind of mistake. I see that with most garments that are out there. And so that actually has, and that even with some of the higher end clothing, so that honestly has given me more encouragement with my sewing and not trying to be a perfectionist with it, because I have a tendency to want to be the best at everything. But I'm like, you know what, this is a project that I'm not, or hobby that I'm not going to do that with. All right, so I'm back stitching and then ending, but I just want to make it look as good as I possibly can. All right, so again, here's our opening. I'm gonna remove these threads, and I'm going to sew the entire side of this, and I am going to do this at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We are done with that. Now, to finish this side out, I'm just gonna go down this side again at a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then I'm going to show you what we are going to do after that. Okay. All right, I just got finished with that. So what I'm going to do is just clip these corners. Make sure you don't get into that seam line, y'all, okay? And I'm going to clip the excess off as well, okay? Because we don't need all of that extra fabric. Alrighty, so here is our finished work. What I'm going to do, and now I just want to let you guys know I only removed the excess fabric on this side, not the side that has the folds on it and that we stitched down. All right, so now I'm going to turn this right side out, making sure that I get those corners nice and pointed. I have my corner turner there, and just gonna press it out. Y'all, this is a makeshift corner turner. It was like there was like a little pin at the end of it. I just removed the pin because I was like, this is perfect for those corners when you're trying to make them nice and pointy. All right, so there we go. And now what we're going to do is press. Again, sew a seam, press a seam, okay? So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is kind of get that fabric to be as straight as it can be, like that, okay? And then using our steam, or in my case, y'all, I promise you, I just told my husband that I am getting a new iron. So I'm gonna be getting a new iron, maybe today, or at least by this weekend, I'm gonna have a new iron. All right, so we're gonna just press that seam. I'm gonna do the same thing on this other side. Press that seam. All right, and then stretch that out as well. And I'm going to press that also. Okay. Now, the next order of business is to do our fold up here up top. So I'm gonna show you what we're going to do because we need a place to house our shoestring, right? Okay, so we have our opening here, right? So what I wanna do is use my shoestring as a guide to see how do I want this to be folded, you know, like how much room does this need? And so I'm probably going to do about this much space. And in order to do that, we are going to have to, you know, it might be a good idea to turn your bag right inside out again, just to get this part to come out. You don't have to do it perfectly. But I'm probably going to fold over maybe an inch. Let me measure that really quick. So yeah, that's almost an inch. Let me see, exactly an inch. So I'm gonna fold over an inch, so that's an inch, and press that down. Now I wanna make note, at this intersection, I'm just calling it an intersection, where your seams meet, you need to determine how you want this seam to lay because you will sew it down. Mine is naturally going to the left, so I'm laying that to the left, and I'm going to take this seam right here and line it up with this stitch line, okay? So I'm gonna fold it right there, and then I'm going to press it with steam, okay? All right, so we have that sewn over an inch. Now, what we're going to do, that's kind of hot. So I'm gonna turn it this way on the not so hot side. So now what we're going to do is turn this over 1/4 of an inch. And that's going to make the casing for our shoestring, okay? So I'm just gonna press that. And what we're going to do, we are going to go to the sewing machine and sew that casing down. Now, right here where you have all of that extra fabric, make sure you do like an extra, like a back stitch. That way it will be secure after your project is done. Alrighty, I'll see you back at the sewing machine. Alright y'all, so my sewing machine has this compartment that will come off. I added some pins just to make sure that I have everything flat. Now I just want to let you know, this is kind of what you do when you're sewing a sleeve. So this, if you do this project multiple times, this will help you when it comes to sewing sleeves because sleeves are very narrow. But I'm placing this underneath this part right here. I have like a little section that goes underneath. And I'm again going to be feeling for that edge and trying to keep it right there at that edge. I'm going to put my presser foot down and I'm going to do my 2 stitches and then back stitch and then keep moving forward. My fabric was having a little bit of a hard time going through, but it made it, y'all. So be patient because that's a thick spot. So it actually sewed over that a couple of times, but that's a pretty thick spot. But I'm just trying to make sure that this folded part is kind of in line, like the middle of it is in line with my needle. So when you're sewing, you have to use a lot of touch and feel, and you have to see as well. That will help you with keeping everything lined up together. Now I could just use my, and it's really not at a full inch because we did that 1/4 of an inch turn, so it's more so at 3/4 of an inch line, but I like to be extra cautious and just feel as well. Okay. Right here at this seam, I'm gonna do a back stitch for extra support, and I'm just gonna keep going around like this, okay? And we are almost at the end, y'all. Okay, bring my fabric around a little bit. We're almost there. Okay, let me move this last pin and go all the way to the end. Back stitch, I'm back stitching all the way to both folds and lifting up. All right, let me cut my strings there on both sides and then we'll see how it went. You guys, it went well. I got everything. Now, if you like for a little more decoration and also support, you can add another seam, in which that's what I'm actually going to do. I'm just going to add that seam or that stitch right above that first stitch. And that can add like a little actually, you know what, I'll do like a little decorative stitch for you guys so that you can kind of see how you can play around with your stitching. And this is considered a top stitch when you do like a decorative stitch. Now, one thing about decorative stitches is that it does take more time. All right, so bear that in mind as you're doing those decorative stitches, but it is fun to do just to add some interest and detail to your work. All right, I'm gonna keep going around, and when I'm done, I will be back to show you the finished product. Okay, you guys, before I show you my decorative stitch, I am just going to go in and press those seams to set everything together. Okay, the decorative stitch it just added just a nice little detail. Alrighty, and then we are going to take our shoestring, being that you can also use a ribbon. If you use a ribbon, just add a safety pin to the bottom to help you weave through. But with the shoestring, you have, you know, the little plastic piece. Now, if I can just get my hole open. There we go. All right, so just go in and just weave that through like this. So basically you're gonna scrunch it up, kind of like our scrunchie, you know, the scrunchie that we did a few videos back. I'm just gonna keep doing this all the way around and then I'll show you the final product. Okay, you guys, here is the finished product with my decorative stitching, and look at that. We have our drawstring bag. And as I was putting this together, because of the size of it, I was like, this would be perfect. Like if you know people that use wine, like I use wine for cooking, you can gift this. You know, use this as a gift bag, a cute little gift bag, especially if you had like a nice ribbon with it. But yes, that is our final product. And for me, that decorative stitching right there just took it to the top. You can even do the decorative stitching all the way around to make it look even more interesting. But here's that opening. This is why we left that opening piece, because drawstrings, drawstring bags, you rarely see them attached like this, although you can, but most of the time you have that little opening. And y'all, this is cute. All right, y'all, thank you so much for coming along with me on this journey with sewing this cute drawstring bag. You can make so many different sizes with this. You can make it wider, you can make it shorter, you can make it for little gift ideas. You guys, there are endless things that you can do with this drawstring bag. I hope you learned something new and are able to just give yourself some grace as you're learning to sew. You guys, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share, let people know what we're doing over here. Don't forget to hit that notification bell too. All right, you guys have a blessed one. Bye.